In August 2022, we did the most ambitious video that we could for our first single, Let the Music Rock. It was bold, it was complex, and it pushed the limits of what we thought we could pull off. Fortunately, the feedback was amazing. But a few months later, we released our second single, Like a Rocket. And when the time came to think about a music video for this one, we thought, oh shit, how are we gonna top the last one? This is the revealing journey into the technology used to create something that we thought would be a suitable follow-up. What we didn't know at the time was that we would be involved in an endeavor that would have it all come together in this way. This is the making of the world's first Cybervideo. Hey guys, we're here in Stanhope, New Jersey, about to interview the production team for Like a Rocket. Yeah, so we're about to go inside and ask Tice and Anthony some questions. Hey guys!
Hey, welcome. Good to see you again. How you been?
Good to see you.
My name's Tice Hoskins. I am the co-founder of Whisper Creative, which was the production company behind the virtual production for the Like a Rocket music video. And my role in the music video specifically was the producer. So Whisper Creative was founded by myself and my business partner Austin back in 2017. Austin and I met in college and started doing a lot of freelance projects and music videos for classmates around campus. And then in 2017, we wanted to kind of branch off from the music video side of the business and start doing more corporate productions, commercials. Yeah, I've been doing that since 2017 and slowly growing that side of the business as well.
I'm Damien Dustin, and in addition to being the manager and producer for Twin City, I also produced and co-directed and co-wrote the Like a Rocket music video.
My name is Dario. I'm co-director with Damien for the Like a Rocket music video. I mostly do narrative work, so whether that's music videos or scenes for actors' reels or short films. My company, Leon Studios, is what I started so that I can just create different worlds.
When this script was being written, we didn't think about exactly what tech would be used, if there was tech at all, because right up until maybe a few weeks before filming, we were still thinking maybe this could be shot in a real outdoor environment, because a lot of the video takes place outdoor. What was great was that the tech that we ultimately ended up using, you see a really accurate portrayal of that script as was.
This video, I think that it just completely changed my perspective on visual storytelling.
I remember, Austin was like, hey, Twin City's got another music video. And I was like, okay, so? And then he was like, well, here's the script. And I was reading, I was like, oh, okay, we have a lot to do here.
My first thought when I heard the concept for this video was, how on earth are we gonna do something like this that is gonna look good?
So the technology of virtual production's been around for, it's still very young, 5 years, maybe a little bit before that, but it was definitely popularized with projects like The Mandalorian, who used LED volumes for a lot of their shots. So most people think it's traditional green screen, but they actually filmed in real time for that. Game of Thrones, House of Dragons used a lot of it. With virtual production, there's kind of two elements of it. There's the using an LED volume, which has this volumetric light that's being cast on the subject, and there's the green screen aspect where you're live compositing and keying out the green in real time. So you're still both using the same virtual environments, it's just different ways to achieve that in-camera look. So the LED volume is just what we call the LED wall. So the LED wall is multiple little panels that consist of little pixels of light.
These are new pixels. These are little lamps, each one.
And so when you put them all together, you get this massive, massive wall. Most people see it being used in context of production. So if you go to a concert or to a show, most music artists when they're performing have maybe some sort of LED volume behind it.
Just aesthetically, shooting on an LED volume lends way better because one, you don't have to composite something in post. It's really difficult to composite something when you need to key out hair and set up lights outside of the green screen. to make it look real, like you're in that scene. But with an LED wall, it's like the lights are already emitting onto the person, onto the twins. It also allowed them to be able to envision them better in the scene. So to me, the main difference is like night and day.
Tomorrow we go through the shots and scenes and figure out what we're doing green screen, what we're doing LED. But basically, like, open up the map, open up the scene.
I need to
Test
get
a couple of the
maps
cameras.
figured out.
Yeah. But what made this like a world's first and super interesting is with all the productions we've seen, no one's quite decided to use green screen and LED screen kind of in tandem. So the way we had the studio set up was we had the whole cyclorama with, the green screen, so we could, have the tracking system and shoot towards the green screen and get everything we need there. But right behind us was the LED volume, so we could flip the camera around, keep the same tracking, and then film with the LED volume. But again, it's very, very small. Like, I only see a handful of videos every now and again, like using virtual production, but we always have our eyes peeled. Like, we're watching stuff and we're like always trying to pick it apart. Like, is that real? Is that fake? And like, we're in the industry and we can't even tell.
My name is Anthony DeCrose, and I am the virtual production technician for the Like a Rocket music video. Basically, I was in charge of the technical aspect that went into this. I was making sure that we had a good key, making sure the camera tracking was like solid and wasn't like jittering or going out of bounds. Keying is when you have a green screen behind talent and you're trying to remove the green.
Is the key a little bad in the top corner?
Yeah, I want to rekey. There's some fill problems going on too.
That was pretty good, right?
I was also making sure we were rolling all of the virtual production takes on top of pulling focus for some of the shots that we were doing. In a virtual situation, you need to pull focus for the camera and you also need to pull focus for the engine.
The virtual environment. So when he's pulling focus too, the camera lens is pulling focus, but then we're also pulling focus in the 3D environment.
Not that.
It's very cool. It's the world's first.
I was also in charge of all the set construction and the photo scans. Unreal Engine's a game engine. So the way we were choosing shots was plugging in a game controller and flying the camera around in the virtual map and kind of placing the cameras where we were flying it around. It was as if you're playing a video game, like in the fullest sense. This shot we set up for some of the overhead driving shots. Just animated a camera along the path. And really simple scene. We're also using this beautiful city, all in Unreal. You can just see it live. The biggest thing shooting on an LED volume is the global illumination, which basically is realistic and accurate lighting to what's going on in the environment. Like in a green screen scenario, if you have a light in the virtual side of things, that doesn't necessarily affect the talent in real life. With an LED wall, all the light that's being cast from the wall falls off onto the subject. So you get really realistic shadows, lighting, reflections, all that type of stuff. We were using Unreal Engine 5.1 for most of this project, just as the base for the engine. And we were using Xemetry to basically bridge the gap between the production side of things, like all the camera equipment, and the virtual side of things, which is Unreal Engine. That was also a software that I had no clue about prior to this and had to learn basically most of the things through, talking to people online and forums and stuff. And there's a bunch of really great people that are super helpful in trying to get other people into this type of market. Another piece of hardware and software we're using was anti-latency, and that's for our camera tracking system. Basically in the software, you have to set up your tracking mat and how big it is, where your sensors are. So these are the trackers that we were using for the virtual production. Between this tracker and this receiver, we were able to wirelessly do camera tracking. This is a infrared sensor, and it points down or up depending on where you have your tracking mat. But this basically looks at plots that are on the ground. So as it moves in location, it can tell the distance it is between each point. There's an accelerometer built in here, so that's how you get like the tilt, rotate, pan type of stuff. On top of that, we were using Vanishing Viper to pull focus. Our computer rig, we're using an RTX 4090. We're using a top-of-the-line Windows machine to run the Unreal Engine side of it. I was utilizing an RTX 4090 for all the graphic stuff, so we had like no issues or bottlenecks with the hardware, and all the hardware kind of works great together. The reason it was a world's first was because we were using a brand new camera that no one's ever done this type of like production with. We were using the Ronin 4D, the 6K.
This is the world's first virtual production chicken camera.
You know, most of the time with green screen, it's really easy to lock off a camera on a tripod, cut out the grain, and like call it a day. But we need the shots to be dynamic. We need the shots to be cinematic. And so we have, you know, Austin's filming style. And now we need to make sure the tracking system and the cable system and the focus system and all of the gear and equipment and stuff is, you know, we're able to film like we're filming just a regular music video.
We were able to fabricate and mount a special tracker that mounts to the bottom of the gimbal, the X9 gimbal, I think it is.
So basically what we're trying to do here, that little blue dot is the virtual camera like in the 3D space. We have to put it over that little shape there, that gray shape. But this light's too bright.
Once we did that, we were able to track the lens completely. So it was like flawless, the tracker didn't move at all. And no one's really done that before with this type of camera. Typically it's cinema cameras like Reds and Aries and Blackmagics. Another thing that was difficult with using that camera was that there was no time code or any type of gen lock. So it was difficult to sync the incoming feed from the camera into the outgoing feed of Unreal Engine.
Distress. For the BTS, come on.
Do it for the gram.
But we were able to dial it in using Xcemetry because it has a tracking delay feature, so that was awesome. We didn't have to worry about timecode or gen lock in this scenario. There was a lot of pre-production for this shoot. I had to make 4 or 5 separate environments that were all kind of like custom in their own way, changing lighting around, importing models. So yeah, one of the most difficult aspects of the shoot was the fact that this was like a new thing for us, and we were kind of going into like uncharted territory a little bit.
So now we're back to square one.
Yeah.
Square one. Our old friend, square one.
Some of the other problems we had during pre-production and the week leading up to the shoot was that as we were doing our Unreal Engine tests, we were doing everything in 1080, so at a much lower resolution. So in that case, we were doing fine with the hardware that we had, but we knew that we wanted to get like a higher quality end product, so we needed to jump to 4K, and we didn't have the ability to do that with the current GPU that we were using, so we upgraded to a 4090, and that gave us so much more runway towards like the end. I haven't even hit a bottleneck with that card. It's been great. Another thing, we also need multiple camera inputs and camera outputs into the machine. So we had to get a upgraded deck link card from Blackmagic in order to do that. And that was something we needed to get like right away before the shoot. It allowed us to record and output a 4K signal at anywhere up to like 120 FPS. Not that we used that, we were only at about 23, but it was still, we needed that card to progress.
Whoa. That's sick.
We also didn't have a correct power supply in our system for the 4090, so we had to upgrade that too. And then everything started to just kind of fall into place with like performance, and then there wasn't any issues at all. No overheating, no cutting. We also had some problems with our camera tracking system. We were using anti-latency, and it works great, but you need to do radio scans and null out everything that's in the area. So I was doing a couple hours of radio scans trying to pinpoint just interference and frequency that was happening in the studio that we were at. And once I moved the mat to a separate channel that nothing else was touching, our camera tracking improved immensely. We weren't getting jitters, nothing was bogging or bumping. It was just kind of flawless after that. But lots of trial and error, it just kind of worked.
So what we learned, we were doing over 100 shots total. And the amount of time that we had, I thought it was gonna be like headache after headache, nonstop. If you're on set for something like this, there's no way you're doing 100 shots. There's no way.
So looking at 100 shots is like, oh boy, we need like 2 weeks to realistically capture this thing. As a producer, you're like thinking through how much time it takes to capture each shot. You have actors, lens switches, and then we have this new technology. Like there's so much that could go wrong. So I was just planning worst case for everything.
Yeah, I don't even know how we pulled it off. I think it was just the twins were like on point with the way they were acting. Austin and Anthony were on point with everything on their end. Being hand in hand with Damien also, just making sure he was happy with everything. I think it somehow made it happen, even though to me in my head it was impossible.
I think the moment that I had where I thought this video is just going to be epic is probably, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to say pre-production. For me, the pre-production part of it was where I really thought that this would work. I trust the team that we hired, so I kind of felt like within some of our talks that we were assured with some of the things that we wanted to pull off. What I wasn't sure was, okay, how do you get folks ready for like martial arts in a few weeks? A lot of what surprised people about this video is this fight scene with the twins who are athletic but kind of dainty, but I thought it'd be really cool because I know them to be very athletic, to be able to put a fight scene in there. I have a martial arts background and I figure we should go ahead and try to do this. So we trained for about maybe like 2.5, 3 months on this dummy, this red punching bag thing. I think once I started seeing those things kind of come together, I knew that they'd be able to pull off everything else. And I always had a hunch that they'd be able to do like everything else, because in working with them, I could honestly say that I don't see limitations, which is such a, like a godsend. When I saw that come to life, all the rehearsals in the living room.
Shot 50, TC comes into frame, wet, tosses backpack on ground to get new outfit. Too early to tell them what the...
Doing things like getting in and out of a bicycle, which was a chair, or being hit on at the bar.
What's up? What are you doing?
All those things coming together is where I feel like, yeah, we definitely have something great. Now, that happened in pre-production. There's 3 types of choreo: the dance choreo, the seduction scene choreo, and of course the fight scene choreo. I did the fight scene choreo. Sharon Gruber, who we work with frequently, did the seduction scene choreo, and of course the dance choreo.
Hi, my name is Sharon Gruber, and I am the choreographer for Twin City. My role for the Like a Rocket video is choreography. I did the dance choreography, and I did the seduction choreography as well. Seduction choreography is different from the dance choreography, where you're trying to move around in sensual ways to try to, it's almost like acting, try to get the security guard or the cyborg to do what you want them to do. Seeing the seduction on screen with the technology, I would say it brought it to life. You're in the studio, you're doing seduction, and it's like, okay, I mean, you know what you're doing, but we're using a prop. A person's not even there. So when you're actually doing it for the video, and the video has the background, it has everything put together, it really just makes it look more sexy, because you got the darkness of the night sky. All of that comes into play and really brings out whatever movements you're doing. You could do movements, but then when you have the scenery and things like that, that really just makes it show what you're trying to accomplish. What 3 words that would I use to describe the moves for the dance scenes? I would say sexy, cutting edge, and fun. All right, let's try it from the beginning. And you can do that when you look to the sides with a little bit of a spin. Ready? So the process is, hear the song, what parts do they need to have the choreography for, do the movements in a studio, record, go over it, present it to Anjali and Bhavani. Then we do the choreography, we go over the movements, teach the movements, and get it down pat. And the movements are practice, 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 and that's basically the whole process in a nutshell.
So we're in Fairfield, or like Wayne, New Jersey, for a music video shoot. This like weird, stinky motel room. Because our other room, like, the door just randomly didn't open again to like the guy from the motel like kicked it down, and it's so cold and we have to wake up at like 5:45 a.m. tomorrow to go to Stellar Studios from this weird motel that smells of poop. Anyway, somehow I only brought one sweater and like a crop top.
Stellar Studios is a new state-of-the-art facility in Fairfield, New Jersey. We ended up shooting at that studio, I want to say early 2022, working on like a different music video project. We were using the studio space, and we didn't even use the cyclorama or any of kind of that main studio. But when we were there, we got to meet the owner and kind of connect with him, and we found out he had all these LED panels. We were like, hey, have you ever tried virtual production? Is that something you're interested in? And he sounded very interested, so we decided to set up a volume and bring all of our stuff. And yeah, so when we're, considering options for the Twin City Like a Rocket music video, Stellar was the first one that came to mind. It was close to us. We already had this relationship and, had proven the technology in that space. So that felt like the best bet to bring everything to life.
The biggest glitch that I was having was keeping the talent's feet on the floor and it looking correctly. There was a ton of ways that we could have fixed that, but at the time that we were shooting, we didn't have the exact piece we needed to solve that issue. But we shot around it and it works fine. It's when there's a forward and backward perspective shift, you kind of lose the feet sometimes. Like the feet don't line up with the ground perfectly, the CG ground. We needed another anti-latency camera tracker to put on both of you guys. So as you move, it moves your virtual position in the world. So basically you're looking at a flat plane and it's moving forward and backward, but as it moves forward, it gets bigger to the camera's perspective. But if I had a tracker, that would change things.
So I think mostly the biggest issue was just getting the right key on the green screen, as is usually the problem. But I don't want to say the word problem because I feel like the lighting in the location itself in Stellar Studios was already great. So we didn't have to do much just to like maybe fill in some of the green spots that were a little dark. And then as far as lighting each scene, all it took was maybe 1 or 2 lights to, if we were at the arcade with Bhavani, then just maybe putting some blue on her face. And to make it look real, we had a game on this LED wall in front of her so that it can reflect on her glasses. So it was like, what can we do to make this look as real as possible?
And don't forget your...
Try not to move your head.
Wow, don't forget your expression.
Angry plane. And then you're gonna take off the glasses because you got the notification. Turn exactly how you did the other time.
The Space Invaders flying around Bhavani's visors, that looks great. Even the push-up with that jacket that she's wearing is fantastic.
My favorite scenes from the video were the motorcycle driving shots. The way we set that up was we had a motorcycle lifted up on some boxes, and we had a 16-foot LED wall that was sitting right behind the talent. I had a virtual camera on a path in Unreal Engine that would run from point A to point B just in a straight line. and then I pump that image into the LED wall. And as we're shooting the talent on the motorcycle, the LED wall is like kind of whooshing through.
Ooh,
That was sick.
that was good. Have you guys ever shot anything like this?
This is the best it's looked.
It gives the feeling that like the motorcycle is actually moving through space a little bit, which is like super dope. It came out great.
Yep. Oh man, that looks
Keep your eyes on the road.
My name is Jason Monet. I am a hairstylist. My role in the production was to do hair.
All engines go.
My favorite look would be definitely the motorcycle scene. You know, watching the hair blow in the wind, and I think it's quite funny with the camera crew there. And I kind of cut, wait, stop! I have to get on set and fix the hair. And they kind of looked at me like, who's this guy? I think Angeli was on the motorcycle that time, and I just had him, you know, make it look like it's more windblown. The secret to the windblown hair look is it's a secret. No, it's really sort of clean, very soft, but yet lived-in hair. So it moves. It's not no hairspray at all. More sort of teasing and letting it flow sort of more naturally. My favorite was when it was a very, very technical thing, but they had to make the lights go, and they just took 2 pieces of paper and the flashing of the lights going by. I thought that was kind of cool. And the LED screen, I mean, it was like I don't know how many LEDs were there, 50, I don't know. It was pretty massive.
I think my favorite or the most fun behind the scenes moments were when we were moving the bike in and out of sets, because it was a heavy bike and there were certain angles that we couldn't push the bike, so we had to like lift it to put it on some Apple boxes. And in that process, I'm not sure if it was Jay or if it was Tice, but we were like covered in green screen. He was like covered in green screen. So when you look at the composite on the screen, you see like a floating head.
Hide your face and then like show it. This is how they did Harry Potter.
That's incredible. That is like.
Show us your face.
Reveal yourself, Tice Hoskins.
Wow, that looks so real, bro. What the heck?
Stop! Everything solid.
Yo.
Focusing.
Can you replay that real quick?
Yeah. Go back.
That might be my favorite,
Yeah, me
like,
too.
immersive shot of the day.
Yeah.
Give it 5 days. Like, wow.
Like in terms of the shot.
How do you feel?
A lot better when this is in here.
We had this bar scene. That one was definitely, in my mind, one of the most challenging going into it, because there's a lot of extras now. With virtual production, you know, if you just have a single subject, medium shot, it's pretty easy to sell the effect. But when there's multiple people, there's a bar that has to divide the people. You know, it was a lot more elements where I was a little unsure. But that honestly came out one of the best shots of, in my opinion, the music video. I think we did sell it in that it looks like there's a bar there. And again, it's just like a couple of boxes with a green cloth over it.
So we need a green cloth. All right, we get it. So she has to come to Yeah.
I think the most confident shot was the bar scene. There was a lot of aspects to it, and one of the big pieces to it looking, in my opinion, it being like my favorite, was I was using all of Xemetry's tools to do like lighting and shadows that were happening like in the CG world were actually being affected towards the real life like talent. For example, at the bar scene, there's this light and there's a person that walks right behind the light, and as they walk behind it, they get brighter. That was using Xemetry's billboard feature, which basically just takes the Unreal Engine lighting and casts it back onto the billboard talent.
Wow.
So you get like really concise virtual lighting that's accurate. That was probably my favorite shot because it like looked, I think it looked the best. There was a bunch of other things going for it. Like we had an actor behind the bar and he was able to like place a glass onto the bar.
So we just removed the cup from the bar.
Is that a shot glass?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one green room, you looked at this 50-foot tall wall of screens, and the way it was seamless, the way that they physically were in that room, but yet on the screens they were teleported to the bar, it was just a green room.
Hey, I'm Jonesu, and so my role for this music video was the fashion stylist, and I also made a little cameo in it as well. So one of the actors on set was using some pickup lines to kind of like, I don't know, break the ice or just like keep everybody in the moment or in the scene.
That was a real reaction.
I can't even remember them verbatim, but they were hilarious, and they were just sending me to hell the entire time.
Hearing these pickup lines just off camera was just kind of hysterical.
My name is Sarah Tweedy. I'm a New York City-based makeup artist, and I did the makeup for the Like a Rocket Twin City music video. So being on the set was incredibly fun. I remember when I first walked into the green room, and could not stop thinking like this is the most insane wall of technology and the computers and everything like that, and it was incredibly cool to be on a set that first of all had such an incredible beauty room for me in the back. I had my own section. I loved coming into work for the 3 days because I had my own setup, which was really, really nice. And then I was able to go into the other room and be a part of such an incredibly unique experience with all the technology. I've never been on a set like that in my life. So I think my favorite looks was the makeup that I did for the bar scene, which is extremely glittery, very glamorous. I feel like it's very much my style of when I get hired, kind of what people hire me for. So it's eye-catching and kind of magical looking, very glittery and pretty. So I feel like that one was my favorite.
And action.
Look at each other.
The most challenging scene for this production, I'd have to say, was the lake shot. Getting the perfect angle for them jumping off into the water was kind of difficult. We got it though, it worked out, but we were testing a bunch of different shots to see what would work best. It was a lot of playing around with the perspective and making sure that we had solid tracking throughout the whole shot.
The scene that I thought was going to be the most difficult to pull off is the one by the pier. And the reason is because it's two people in the scene, and the pier was very narrow. So the scale, it was hard for us to find that right balance.
Holy shit, you're sitting on a pier. Is she a little small? Big? She's a little small.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Scoot over a little bit. It was perfect. There we go. It appears too big. It's way too big. It's huge now.
They got both of them, but it does look massive.
Swim. Rotate looks alright.
Yeah.
I feel like the way Twin City was able to imagine the world around them, because it was a green screen, and then on top of Anthony being able to properly scale that, and Austin with his camera work, and the live compositing came out great. But in my mind, while we were there, I didn't know if we were going to be able to actually pull that off.
Every once in a while, I'm thinking, okay, is this particular thing feasible? Such as the diving into water scene. We thought about doing a huge pool that maybe you get in with scuba gear and whatnot, and how the hell are you going to do that? Because that's I don't know. And then the idea was floated to me by both twins that we should probably shoot this outside, where we're going to get into a lake, an actual lake, and just film it there, and that would be fine in March, where it gets a little bit nippy in New York. But thankfully the crew that we had hired for this had a better solution to hypothermia.
Wow, the hands on the edge.
Yeah, dude.
The lip of the. That's nuts.
And they have shadows too. Look at the shadows in the hands. Cool. Science. Science.
Is Anthony playing soccer? Is Anthony playing soccer? And Anthony what? You look like God, Jason.
The wet hair look. The wet hair look came about. It's something I did for Fashion Week about 2 seasons ago, and I came up with this idea of if you just wet hair and people think a wet look, just wet hair, the hair dries. During any sort of fashion, whether it be latex or avant-garde or runway show, we can't have the clothes getting wet, and we don't know how long a shoot, or it's going to take. So by applying, I basically went in. I think what I did was I applied sort of say gel first, and then mousse on top, and combing it each section very, very important to separate it, so each hair had its own definition. So as it dried, it sort of dried very. It was actually kind of crunchy, and it moved, but yet it looked very wet without sort of say ruining or dripping down the latex with. And it worked out really well. I was very happy with what the result was.
Rolling.
And it was interesting on set, we were working, doing the hair, doing the makeup, and it came to the part, which is probably the funniest part for us as far as in the glam squad, was after she'd done all this beautiful makeup, they called for wetting the face down. So at first there was sort of like a little mist, and that was fine, and then there was a little bit more. And then I definitely remember Austin saying, "No, wet it!" And he's like soaking it. And poor Sarah's just sitting there like this.
When the cinematographer first described to me that I had to keep on spraying water on the girls over and over again, I think it went on for like 30 minutes, just more and more water sprayed onto them, and it was just like kept disintegrating the makeup. It made me kind of sad because I had worked on the makeup for like an hour on each of their faces that morning, and it was really beautiful. But obviously I do as I'm told, so I was like, I'm just gonna spray this, and the end result was incredibly beautiful, and I'm like really happy that I like went with the vision of the directors.
Please fasten your seatbelts. We're going to have about a 2-hour flight to Chicago.
Jay, real time. There's Jay in a spaceship, astronaut Jay. Houston to Jay, can you read me?
Wow!
Look at Jay's reflection. See that? How is his hand getting cut out?
Is it going green?
He's like definitely sitting in there though. This is so cool. All right, I'm happy. We did it.
Wait, point to the other.
No!
Point to the other chair.
Holy smoke, Anthony!
Are you getting him in too, live?
Is that?
If you go like it.
Wait, I could just literally sit in this chair. Is that working?
2 pilots are better than 1.
Hey, what's up, dude?
Yo, this spaceship's a lot bigger than it looked in the pictures.
Yeah, this is a pretty big spaceship after all.
Wow, all right. Amazing.
We did it.
With virtual production, it's real-time in-camera vis effects. So the moment you're on set, you get to look at the final end product. Like in the studio, like when the twins were sitting in the chairs, like, it was a green screen chair, like green screen chair and a green screen studio. But what we saw was them in the spaceship. We got to see them sitting in the spaceship. Hey, if you reach for that button, it's a little bit higher. You can give those notes and that feedback that you wouldn't necessarily get with traditional green screen.
The scene that I was most surprised that they were able to pull off was the spaceship scene. And up until that point, we hadn't really discussed how this would look. I had seen the model of the interior of the spaceship, but I didn't know that it would actually look quite that cool. I mean, that's really a credit to the teams that we had working on this.
All the stuff we're filming and all the scenes in the Twin City music video is 3D. Those are 3D objects with textures and meshes.
There was a couple shots where we weren't able to get live during the production, and some of them had to be like created using CG. So I had to photo scan the twins, and I had them basically stand in like a T pose, and I had them spin as I was taking pictures. I must have took like probably 400 pictures, and then I brought those back into Blender and I mapped them onto a model, like a human mesh. And then I was using Mixamo animation assets to get the models to move the way that I want them to. There was a specific shot where there's a button press that happens and it's completely 3D, but it kind of looks pretty real. And then there was a shot where the twins were running through the forest that's also completely CGI. But I needed the photo scans because I needed them in their outfits that they were wearing. So that's how that was done. All right, so here's some of the cool stuff we were doing with the photo scans for the twins. Here's the image that I was using. I had like 100 images that I was able to like pick between, but I settled on this one and I like roughly keyed it out. And then I found this model of just a generic female model for that was compatible with Blender, and I just mapped the texture image onto the mesh, and then dragging it into Unreal Engine, I was able to then like throw my own animations on it. So here was the swimming animation. It's kind of rough in some areas, but we were just shooting angles that we knew would work, like one of these. We also had a running animation for when they were running through the forest. But yeah, that's basically how we were able to take shots of the twins when they weren't actually on location. They were just in a virtual world. I can actually show you one of the sequences. So this was just a quick run through the forest. And a closer up. Whoa. Yeah. So basically just for those two shots, it was a pretty simple process. That's kind of how that works. Alright, so this was the military scene for like the rocket and the fight scene between the twins and the cyborg. That basically happened like kind of right here. And if we go up top, this is the keycard entrance where they both run, swipe the keycard, and then they get into the rocket. I have that sequence right here. There we go. So basically, they walk up, scan the key card, and they get in. All pretty quick inside of Unreal Engine. It's never a wait. It just kind of works. But yeah. Where's the mesh view? There we go. 3D, I could literally kind of place them wherever. They're on a keyed path. This is basically all the keys for their position, rotation, the two video files, and kind of like my shot list up top, but it's basically all the animation for that. Came out pretty good.
The aesthetic look that we're going for with the outfits for the Like a Rocket video was something that was fresh, not necessarily something that anybody's kind of seen before. We actually kind of patterned it off of what you might see in a video game, believe it or not.
Just for me.
The monitor has
So my favorite part of the video, excluding the dance scenes, is when Anjali and Bhavani run towards the spaceship and they both stop, and then there's like a movement. There's like a movement like stop. It almost looked like a superhero. I love the empowerment. It was just cool all around.
I love in the video when you guys simply pull up your ponytail, and I know I did it, and you didn't. In the video, it looks like you just kind of snatch it up tight.
Little cyborg action.
Don't show my face on public.
The cyborg part of this is one of two apexes in the video, and putting together the look for the cyborg was actually kind of interesting because every part that went into the cyborg had to come from a different source because I had something in mind, and what we felt was fresh was having like this mechanical cyborg looking thing with like a one-of-a-kind like mask and like bionic arms and outfits right down to like shoes and like battle gear.
So a big thing with this production was obviously trying to sell the realism of it. It's a sci-fi piece, so every element of it had to be perfect, you know, on our side of the virtual production, but also when you look at the costumes. So reading through the script, I remember seeing this cyborg fight scene, and I was like, I don't know how they're gonna pull this off, like a cyborg. I think we had conversations about even trying to have them fight like in a motion capture suit with like a 3D cyborg, but no, they were pretty confident that they were able to do it like with a physical actor, and so I was like, all right, let's see what happens. And I saw clips of them training, but I don't think I saw the full outfit until the day of the shoot. And this actor, he's like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", massive. He's giant dude. I'm 6 foot and he's like towering over me. And then he comes out and he's in this full outfit, head to toe, like it looks like actual armor, like a warrior. And then he throws on the helmet. It's like, holy smokes, like this is like a real cyborg.
I think my favorite outfit of all of them was the cyborg. I think that's everybody's favorite. The mask was uniquely made. Everything was just so on point. To me, it felt like, oh snap, there's a cyborg here.
One of my favorite like costume designs for the twins was the mesh outfit for when they were fighting the cyborg and in the rocket. Those are like pretty like futuresque looking.
When I was first approached by the team, it was sort of a cyber futuristic, but yes, definitely a rock star feel. And it couldn't have been something that is my forte very much so. I love that sort of very lived in, sort of sexy, loose, sort of bedhead hair.
So I definitely draw from like 80s, 90s supermodel glamour with the girls, while also having it modern and also futuristic twist, but I take very much from that era with the two of them.
I would describe retro futuristic fashion as an ode to the past, the present, and the future all at the same time.
I think that the video was planned in such a way that we minimized a lot of catastrophes. And speaking of catastrophes, there were a few. We had a first-time experience in working with latex where a hole was created by one of the twins, not going to say whom. We had to figure out a way to make sure that we could patch latex somehow. Because if you're familiar with like skin-tight latex, and who isn't, if you're familiar with it, then once it rips, it starts to like spread apart like this. It's not like you could sew it up or anything, so we actually had to improvise to make sure that that was on point.
Honestly, the latex outfits looked incredible, but getting into them, not so incredible. It took maybe a solid half hour to actually get into them. A lot of lube. It was wild.
So the outfits and the outfit selection was probably like a 2-month process where we're taking every little detail into consideration. Will it work with the scene? Putting together outfits for those of you who love it, but for those of you where that might be challenging, I would say that maybe that was a little bit challenging, but when it all came together, it was just a lot of fun.
So the vibe on set and on location was so great. Like everyone was really great, sweet, professional, and the space itself was massive. Like the big green room space was just like, I don't know, the fact that you guys created this like really cool universe from there. I don't know, like I've never really seen anything like that, so that was really cool.
Everyone was extremely professional, and it was just a very inspiring crew to be around.
The artistry that I saw with that team Whether it was Austin with his, I mean, that guy has hands that are, I mean, amazing. I mean, he didn't just operate a camera, it was like in through him and as him and just kind of moved with him. Each one of the team members was just very, you know, they looked like a bunch of frat kids hanging out, but they were very articulate to each one of their jobs and very, you know, focused on it.
I think that one of the most interesting things that most people wouldn't know is just how much fun we had on set. Like, for something like this, you would think that it's just going to be very strict because we need to get things like this way. And even though we were very intentional with the shots that we got, we had so much fun on set. Most people would probably think like, man, like, you know, that must have been hard, or that must have been like a challenge, or they must have been like on point all the time. And the truth is, we had a lot of fun.
Shut down. Your baby.
I think what I enjoyed the most about directing the twins is just how happy also they were. They never got out of character, but yet they were still able to be themselves. So it kind of made my life easy.
So what's it like working with Anjali and Bhavani? It is the most amount of fun that you can have working with people. They're hysterical with vivacious personalities, but they're so hardworking, and that's the thing that maybe a lot of people don't know about Twin City. Is there are often days where we're doing like 12-hour days, just so that we can accomplish the things that we want to accomplish because we feel like we have something different to say.
The twins are absolutely lovely. They are some of the nicest clients and people I've ever worked with, so I always enjoy working with them. Their manager, every single person I've met through them have been an incredible opportunity, and I love coming to work with them.
They're probably some of the kindest, authentic, talented girls I've seen. I'll add this, when the team first came to me, this isn't a type of job that I would just take. Their manager, Damien, definitely, you know, sealed the deal for me because he really knew his aesthetic, his music, and they were very serious about their music, which for me, I'm very serious about my hair, I'm very passionate. So as soon as I met them and it had them come here to the studio, and to meet them, it was really special. And I think there's definitely a connection. And I just knew that it was the right thing for me because I don't take every project. Who they are is just as impressive as how they are.
Oh, I love working with Anjali and Bhavani. They're great. They're so talented. They take direction very well. The mood working with the twins doing choreography was exciting. It was fun. There's a lot of ambition. They go back and forth with their own things, and you see the dynamic between the both of them, and it's something you don't always see on screen, that it's just like very playful and fun, start to get a little goofy sometimes, just to play around and make it more fun. And I liked it. I liked to be around that.
So working with Anjali and Bhavani is amazing. You guys are so sweet and super talented and incredible, and honestly, you're gonna fucking blow up.
Twin City are unsigned artists, and yet we came out with this glorious video that we were told there really aren't many people who've done that for a video, if any. So this video is really emblematic of the futuristic aspect of Twin City, because they are a pop act, but they're not doing things in maybe like what's mainstream right now. They're doing things in a way that they feel, and they're bold when they do it. We feel like we know some of the avenues that tech is going, and we're there for it. We're like a part of it, and that's something that I think that Twin City could really be at the forefront of, and we're already doing it with a video like this.
I think in the filmmaking community, what people will feel is the most exciting thing about all this is that they don't have to run from location to location. They don't have to be held down by any physical restrictions. If you have a scene in mind, you can add to that scene, you can take away from the scene, you can just do anything you want. And I think like this technology makes it so that there are no limits anymore. Now it's just like the Wild West in a way, in a good way, the Wild West, like everyone can just do whatever the heck they want.
It was a big first for us, a big first for the industry, and not a lot of artists are willing to kind of take that risk. So the fact that they were able to and put that trust in us, and the fact that we were able to bring it all together, and it shows that it's possible. Like, we're not a massive company or a massive team. We haven't been doing this all that long. If you get the right people together who have the same vision, have the same drive, really anything is possible. And I think this video is a testament to that.
It's very different. It's a different concept. The technology is very new. You get to see so many different things. It's like watching a movie. I think that's what's unique about it. It's almost like a female superhero movie in a sense. So
people are always telling me like, yo, that's crazy, like that you shot that. They're excited to be able to want to create their own things.
Waiting to get to that premiere was like, it was like the princess going to the ball.
The response has been crazy. Everyone's like, wow, like you did that? Like, how did you make that? Like, everyone has so many questions. And I try and talk about virtual production, but again, it's so technical. Most of the time it goes over people's heads and they just kind of like tune out.
I think the most exciting part about seeing the final project is like thinking to myself like, wow, I wasn't there. I was a part of this. And this just looks so good. It looks so real. And like, did we really just do this? I think this is gonna inspire just so many people because I myself have a lot of things written that have never come to light just because they were literally impossible to make. The locations, again, just don't exist, or they just cost too much money, or you just need to travel really far. It's just so much that goes on in an actual live set. So this technology is just gonna be able to open up the door to any creator who has whatever genre they want to create, whether that's sci-fi, futuristic, even past, like, maybe old times or whatever the case is. I think this technology makes it so that there are no limits anymore.
I'm hoping when people watch this, they get inspired to go out and try and create some cool stuff of their own.